Hi, Nate.
Hey, how are you? Sorry, I apologize for I was 2 minutes late.
Oh, you're fine. No worries. Great to meet you, man.
Yeah, you too.
How's life?
It's pretty good. Pretty
Good,
good. How about
good.
yourself?
Oh, the sun's shining here in Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. Okay, I was gonna ask where you're at. Cool.
It's
Yeah, I'm
exciting here. Where are you at?
I'm in just outside of Rochester, Minnesota, so not
Okay.
too terribly far from you, like a 7-hour drive, but
We're AL Central friends for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
It's weird. I've lived here my whole life. We've won a couple Super Bowls, World
Yeah,
Series. The NFL draft's coming. We're getting the World Cup. I'm like, what happened?
dude, that's
Like,
awesome.
yeah,
Oh,
it
World
is.
Cup's coming there?
Yes. Isn't
Oh
that
man, that's
weird?
awesome.
Like, like that's
When is that?
that's gonna be in
That is a
like
little bit weird.
3 years from now, I think. Something like that.
Okay.
It's down the line. So there's construction and railways and
Oh, I
all
bet.
kinds of things. And it's just like I just only think about Europe and Paris and London. I'm like, how did Kansas City land that?
Exactly, right? Was the last one was in Brazil, wasn't it? Or was it? No, maybe
The-
that was a while ago.
that there was one in Brazil. The last one was in Dubai.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just last
So
month. Yeah.
it's cool. But well, man, hey, it's great to meet you. And what I want to do before we get into your life and what you do and what's made you who you are is to cover COVID. The last 3 years was quite a thing on Earth. It all worked on us in its own way. How did you survive it, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
Me?
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, it definitely shifted because I do a lot of like live experiences, live events in person and was doing a ton of it at the time that COVID hit. So that was huge. Obviously, I'm a coach and work with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. I mean, we do a lot of things online or through the phone. So I suppose there's been a good shift there to more online, offering some more services and programs that don't necessarily require us to be in person. That's been
So
the biggest shift.
yeah, yeah, and I think for a lot of people that's great. I think it's good for us that like not have to go through the whole thing of driving and back and forth and all that. I think we can get things done technologically speaking without being physically there. I mean, I think that's the irony of the COVID time period is we realize community is king, but I think also we can do things remotely and be okay.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I mean, I do think it highlighted the importance of real life human in-person connection too as well, right? Because I think people were kind of starved for it after a while.
Oh
Um,
man.
but yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is, the shift to remote work and how that's changed the landscape for businesses and employees and not seeing the need for a lot of big, huge overhead expenses when it comes to office space or whatever. I get a good friend works for a US bank, obviously a big bank, and he's 3 days remote, 2 days in person, and I know even US Bank has like made some moves with their offices and just lightening the load
Yeah.
to some places where a lot of people can get a lot done and be happier, right, when it comes to the professional life through working, having a little bit more of that freedom to work from home and how that's shifted their life and lifestyle and how yet they can still be super productive, right? As long as your team, your employees are getting done what they need to be getting done. No reason they can't. So yeah, that was a huge shift.
Absolutely. So let's get to the essence. Let's get to the core of what you do daily. If you were in front of a bunch of third graders for a career day and one of the kids looks up and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm huge on leadership, and a big part of leadership is people leading themselves first at a high level before they can go out and lead others and really be that shining example. A lot of that for me starts with your fitness, your nutrition, and taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, which, the benefits to that, overflow into everything else that we do. So a big focus on what I do is help people to get that piece of their life in line, right? To really sharpen their sword, take care of their body, the only one that we ever get, as well as a focus on how to become a better leader, how to shift their mindset, right? I've run extremely challenging ultra marathon races. I'll do 100 miles. And again, that focus for me is because of the benefits that I get from that, from a mental toughness or mindset place. And then also once we really kind of optimize, I think, ourselves and lead ourselves at a really high level, there's never really a finish line or a destination point, because there's always a little bit more to be done. But when we get to a place where we're feeling really good from ourselves, and then shifting that focus to, how they're showing up in their businesses, and how we can make shifts there as well, so that they can make a bigger impact in what they're doing. Yeah,
Oh,
muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad. Sorry. So let's get to the beginnings of your life here, and I want to know the seeds that were planted in you to grow into who you are. What were those? What were the foundational things that were laid in you to become who you are? You're obviously highly driven. You're coaching people, giving a lot. How did that happen?
That's something that I ask myself a lot, like how did I get to where because I think, a lot of who we are really kind of um is programmed into us by an early age, right? By the time we're 7 or 8, we really kind of, the experiences that we've had, and who we are, is impacted by those early years. And so I've actually been doing a lot of work to dig into some of that, because I've discredited in the past. My dad left me when I was, um, before I could remember, 1.5 years old, and really never was a part of my life. And what I've come to realize more so even in the last couple of years is that, why I do what I do is because I want to be that father figure um, for other men. I want to be that man in other people's lives that my dad wasn't for me, right? I'm like, man, I don't want that to happen to anyone else. And so as I've done a lot more soul searching, you would say, I've come to recognize that I think that's a big part of the reason I am who I am, and it is why I do what I do.
It's interesting how much I hear from people that will become something extraordinary because they don't want to follow in the footsteps of things that they didn't like in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's
no, it can very easily go the opposite way too, right? I mean, I I I don't remember exactly who told the story first, but maybe it was like Zig Ziglar or someone, right? Whereas there's a story of two brothers who, well, I think I just ruined it, but there's a story of two men who grow up both in with alcoholic father, very abusive, like just not a great lifestyle. And one grew up to be extremely successful and not be an alcoholic and to be a loving father. And the other grew up and kind of mirrored what he was the environment that he was brought up in. And then the punchline is that they were brothers, right? Like
yeah.
the father was the same man. And so one decided to do something different about it, and the other, just did what he knew.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of you're a figure in people's lives. They look up to you. But for you, who's been a role model or a hero for you in your life?
Man, I've had a lot of important role models in my life, from a very good friend who was a business owner, chiropractor in my small town, that was very much a mentor, and a good friend of mine, still is to this day. And for whatever reason, he put his arm around me, and he put his arm around a lot of people, but I think a little bit more around me than maybe a few others. And I had a few other teachers that did that as I was growing up. And there's, sometimes those people come in your life, and they put that arm around you, and you kind of wonder why. You're not really sure. They see more. It's like they're seeing more in you than you're seeing in yourself. And then they pour into you, and they make a huge impact, and you learn a lot from who they are, and that helps to kind of mold who you become as a leader. And so I've been, fortunate enough to have a number of those people in my life. Of course, my parents were great. I had a grandfather that was really kind of that father figure for me when my dad left, and it was just me and my mom. He definitely kind of stepped in and took that role until my mom got remarried. Um, And then, you know, I mean, of course, I've had coaches and mentors. I've people that I've invested in that I look up to that you know, are living a life that I want to live, or have a business success that I want to have business the success model my success over as a coach. Um, you know, when I'm running my marathons, I'm looking for others that have done what I want to do, so that I could learn from them and avoid some of the pitfalls that we have to go through, like that kind of you have to learn, and you can learn it by going through it, or you can learn how not to do it by learning from someone else that's been there and done that, right? So I've been fortunate to have many people in my life. And then, of course, you know, books that you read, like John Maxwell, or I already mentioned is Zig Ziglar, and some of those people that I've learned a ton from, just by, you know, because they've been willing to share their stories and put their content out, because they want to do the same thing. They want to make an impact on people's lives.
Absolutely. So, speaking of influential people in our lives, if you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I could like a David Goggins is someone that I would like to spend a day with. Read a lot of his content. I watched a lot of his um, content that he puts out. And for those that aren't familiar with David Goggins, he's a retired Navy SEAL. He runs, he does like extreme. His lifestyle is kind of extreme, right? He's constantly pushing himself to the limits every single day, physically, and because of that, like, he's constantly recreating himself. He's constantly busting limits of what people place on others as far as what we're capable of doing. And so just the mindset that he has in life is very unique, very different. I'm not saying that I would totally want to go to that spectrum as far as my day-to-day living. You know, I'm married, I got kids, and I want some form of a life outside of that. But yeah, someone like that's just extremely driven, focused, knows who they are, isn't afraid to back down from that, is not apologetic because of who they are. Right. I respect a lot of that. And I think that's really rare. And so it's people like that, you know. So David Goggins is, if you pick one, that's one that comes top of mind, that like, man, I'd love to spend a day with him and just learn from him and see how he operates and how he goes through his day and how he interacts with the people, and what could I learn from that, and how could I take some of that to, you know, implement into my life, apply to my life, and how I show up differently for people.
So, let me ask you this, with that being said about someone being highly driven, what is it that motivates you? Every day you wake up, you live your life, you want to go through your day in a certain way. What's the ultimate motivator for you?
Well, a big motivator is being an example for others. Like I mentioned, I got 3 kids. You know, first and foremost, that what am I doing on a daily basis? Because people are going to hear what you say, but they're gonna learn more from what it is that you actually do, and do those two line up. And so, when you talk about leadership, like I started off, right, I help people to lead themselves at a very high level, and that has, like, all of it has to align. And so if you're walking around telling people that you lead yourself at a high level, but you're overweight, you're out of shape, like, you know, clearly there's a disconnect there for me, right? It's not that you can't still have a good life, um, but we were looking at all avenues, all areas. And so, yeah, uh, you know, taking care of yourself at a high level, and then, you know, taking it to that next step as far as being able to go out and lead others.
So, let me ask you this. Based on what you've lived in your life, we all gain wisdom. It's an endurance race to a certain degree. If you have a dream tonight, you run into the 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on what you've lived through, what you've overcome and succeeded, what would you tell that young version of you?
I would tell the young version of me to quit caring what other people think about you, or and to drop a lot of the vices and the bad habits, like quit maybe chasing things that we perceive as pleasure, right? Like whether that is a short-term fix, partying with the boys and having some beers, or, you know, eating all the food in the cupboard, you know, not being uh disciplined on a daily basis and extremely intentional in what you're doing. And it's not that you can't go out and have fun, but I think there's a point where you can get to where you quit chasing pleasure to have a great life, but you see pleasure more as pain, and what we maybe look to as pain can actually give us the pleasure. And what I mean by that is we need to do things that in the here and now can sometimes be perceived as painful or uncomfortable in order to really get the life that we want, right? And so it takes time. So be patient, stay present, because we too often we get too focused on the future, or we get too focused on the things that have happened in our past, and we allow those to cripple us, and we attach pain to it when there really isn't any pain that actually physically exists, right? If we stay right here, right now, if I stay here in this moment, fully present with you and what's going on, nothing else actually exists outside of that. And so those are all things that, like, I don't know that my 20-year-old would have been open enough
Right.
to receive, but I guess that would be another piece that I would add to that, is like to be open. We are trained, taught, and educated, and we do a lot of who we are is who we what we have seen and experienced at up to a very short age of even the age of 7. But just to continue to be open, to not say, hey, I already know that, or I've already heard that, but be open that there are different possibilities, there's different perspectives out there, and we can learn from each and every experience we have, whether it's a perceived success or failure. And and use that to continue to propel us forward and to just do good in this world, right? We do enough good in this world, like everything else will come, right? The money, the lifestyle, the material things, the relationships, all will come if we truly focused on being a good person and putting a ton of value out into the world. And so I guess those are a lot of the things that I would try to convince my 20-year-old self to listen to and to hold on to.
So what has been in your life up to this point? What are you the proudest of?
Well, I mean, it's pretty amazing, and it's also extremely challenging and tough as a father. Um, and so, but that's there's nothing that really takes the place of that, right? It's and then the reality of, like, man, time flies by so fast,
Mm.
and I got a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old tomorrow. I got a 10-year-old, and it already hit me a couple of years ago that, man, these my kids are going to be out of my home sooner than later, and it's gone so fast. And to really just, again, I'm coming back to being present and just taking advantage of that time that I have with them now. Obviously, I hope to have a great strong relationship with them for the rest of their lives as adults, but you don't really get the amount of time that you'll have with them right now when they're under your home than you will when they got to go out and live their own life and continue down this journey. So, but yeah, that's the thing that I would say is I'm most proud of, is doing the best I can every single day to be there for them when I make mistakes, because I make mistakes, to own up to them, and just to continue to strengthen that relationship with them, and help them to be the best versions of themselves as well, uh, as they move on into their life.
Absolutely. So in your life of work, what's been the best success story? A fan letter, something that sticks out that's really, really on the top of the list for you?
Well, I mean, one that's just really recent, right? A good client of mine, I'll give him a quick shout out. His name's Rico Perez. He lives in Palm Springs, and he came through one of my live experiences called Unleash the Leader Within, and he's totally transformed himself in 90 days. And we were the spark plug for that, right? He had to go out and do the work, and become committed, but I think we shined a light on who he really is and what he's capable of. And he's gone out to, he lost a ton of weight. I think he lost close to 30 pounds in the 90 days. He went out and ran a half marathon. He went to a marriage retreat with his wife, and reconnected with her at a deeper level. He started closing a lot of big deals. He's a contractor, like electrical contractor, and was closing some of the biggest deals that he's ever closed. And so again, we don't just look at one area of life. We're again focused in on taking care of themselves highly so they can go out and take care of others at a high level. And man, he just went out and did it. And across the board, his faith is one that um, you know, I haven't ran into too many people that are so strong and convicted in their faith, and he only strengthened that over that time. And again, not necessarily because of anything I did. It's just a framework that we gave him, surrounding himself with others that are on a similar path, and then just seeing that fire being reignited inside of him that was always there, and just seeing him take that and run with it, and the results that he's had because of it.
So everyone out there has a perception of you. We have all these pockets and bubbles of people that are
Yeah.
around us, family, friends, clients, contacts, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That is a great question, right? Because yeah, some people know me from 20 years ago, right? And so they know that 20-year ago version of me. Some people know me from maybe 2 years ago and they know that version. Or some people have had incredible experiences with me, and then someone, because I'm not perfect, had not such an incredible experience with me. And so all of our perspectives and views of others are slanted due to the experiences that we've had in certain moments. But yeah, who do I see myself to be? I see myself to be someone that genuinely does care about others, that is doing what he does because he wants to help people become better. And really, what do I want as a result of helping others become better is to help make this world a little bit better. I think, we've talked a little bit about the last 3 years and how difficult it's been, and the pandemic and everything. You just nothing that anyone in our lifetime has experienced before. And just having this feeling that, man, we need now more than ever in my lifetime, we need more leaders to step up, because people are looking to be led, and I feel like there's a little bit of a lack there. And so what can I do to help people um, be championship leaders is what I call it. And so I take care of myself. I live what I teach and preach. I'm not asking anybody to do something that I haven't been willing to do myself times 100. Right? We do a lot of physical stuff, as I've mentioned, and taking care of my body. Am I eating right? Am I not drinking? Am I getting my sleep? Am I getting up early? Do I have a daily routine? Do I, invest in my relationships as well as in my business and in my clients? Like, am I doing all the things that I'm showing others that they should be doing as well? And am I in integrity there, right? And yeah, am I showing up and doing that at a high level? Because again, championship leader, they're the example, they're the standard. And the standard is not the bare minimum, it's exceeding the standard. And so just trying to do a little bit every single day and stay present in that moment every single day as I do it, to continuing to grow, knowing that I've never arrived. I will never arrive. I don't know all the answers, and I'm going to find it for a person, or I'm going to create the connections to help people to get to certain places that maybe I'm not able to help them to get to. And just again, trying to make this world a little bit better place while I'm here, because
Right on.
that's all we got.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, Nate, if anybody wants to hire you, learn more about you, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Yeah, the easiest way is just, if Instagram, hit me up at Coach Nate Bailey, send me a DM. If you're not on Instagram, then you can just go to my website, natebailey.org, and my email, all my contact info is there, and just send me a message, and we have a conversation, see if there's a place that I can help you out. If I
Right on.
can't,
I
we'll
love I
find a way.
love the reverberation of living in the moment. You've been really consistent about
Yeah,
that. I think it's so key for us to just take a breath, and maybe that's what we learned through this pandemic is that Earth had to take a minute to slow down. Maybe we need to do the same. So I like it, man. So
absolutely.
cool. Nate, great to meet you, man. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Best of luck. Take care.